All right, so today we're diving into something that, honestly, when I first saw the headline, I was like, okay, interesting, but maybe didn't think too much of it.
I see where you're coming from.
But you flagged this for our deep dive today, so clearly there's more to it.
Yeah, definitely.
First Lady Jill Biden heading down to Mexico for Claudia Sheinbaum's presidential inauguration. Just, sounds kind of like standard diplomatic stuff on the surface, right?
Yeah. Right.
But you're our expert on, well, everything diplomacy, especially when it comes to the U.S. and Mexico, so enlighten us. What's the big deal about this visit on this date? What's the context here?
So what's fascinating is that this is actually a historic first. A U.S. First Lady has never, ever attended a Mexican presidential inauguration before. Yeah. I mean, we've had presidential visits, delegations, all those usual diplomatic exchanges, but this is unprecedented.
Wow, okay, so this is totally uncharted territory then. What kind of precedent do you think this sets, having Jill Biden attend, as opposed to, say, a delegation of officials?
Well, it's a powerful symbolic gesture, right? It's signaling a real commitment to the relationship at the very highest level. Because, first ladies, they often act as these cultural ambassadors, and their presence carries weight, even when it's not, like, formal policy stuff.
I'm really curious about this soft power aspect. How does that actually play out? Can you give me an example of how a first lady's visit, might actually influence things?
Absolutely. So imagine, for instance, Jill Biden, alongside Claudia Sheinbaum, they visit a women's empowerment organization in Mexico City.
Okay, yeah.
The imagery alone, right, it speaks volumes. But then stemming from that, you might see collaborations on women's issues, economic empowerment programs, all sorts of things with real tangible impact that stem from this, this symbolic visit.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. Now let's talk about Claudia Sheinbaum's side of this equation a bit. This inauguration, it's historic in its own right, right?
Exactly. So Sheinbaum is the first female president of Mexico. That alone is huge.
Right.
But then you combine that with Biden's attendance, and it sends a very strong message about progress, about collaboration, especially on things like gender equality, women's leadership, things that are very important to both administrations.
That's really interesting. And looking at her platform more broadly, I mean, are there certain areas where Scheinbaum's priorities kind of particularly overlap with what the U.S. is focused on right now? Because it seems like if this visit is meant to be more than just symbolic, which it sounds like it is.
You're spot on. Sheinbaum, she's put a huge emphasis on combating climate change. That's front and center for her.
Which, obviously, big one for the U.S. as well.
Absolutely. And she's also really focused on fostering responsible economic cooperation. And again, both of those things. The U.S. is very, very keen on working with Mexico on those. So this visit, it's like, it could be laying the groundwork for some real concrete action on these shared challenges.
Okay, so this is what I was getting at earlier. For our listener who just saw this headline and was like, okay, interesting, and moved on, sum it up for us. Why should they care about this visit? What's the big takeaway, would you say?
It's easy to dismiss these things as just, ceremonial. But the truth is, this visit, it's a small detail that could have big, big implications down the road. It suggests a real willingness on both sides to move the U.S. Mexico relationship in a more positive direction. Now, will it solve everything overnight? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But it's a really, really interesting development and something to, to keep our eyes on going forward.
It's kind of amazing to me how much diplomacy is really wrapped up in these, gestures and these symbolic acts. You wouldn't think it, but
It's true.
for our listener, what I'm taking away from this is, are there other, under the radar events, maybe that we wouldn't think twice about, that might actually be signaling big shifts in international relations?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. And that's the thing, right?
It's like a whole new way to follow the news.
Exactly. And it reminds us that even in this world, in diplomacy, sometimes the most meaningful messages, they're not actually spoken. They're demonstrated through action and through symbolism.
That is a fantastic thought to leave us with. Really, really appreciate your insights on this. Thank you for this deep dive. And for everyone listening, I don't know, maybe we should all be paying attention to these seemingly small details a little bit more often. You never know what you might uncover. All right, until next time.